Oh, isn't it our favorite thing to hear? Hey, Alabama has no problem making the playoffs as long as they beat Auburn and Jordan Hare.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. We want to thank you everydayers for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. And thanks to everybody for making us your first listen every single day. You guys are the best. Also want to thank you for making us the #1 sports podcast network with Locked On. Jimmy, this episode is brought to you by Gametime, by the way. So, Jimmy, I slept it off as best I could. That loss was bad, and it's even exacerbated by the fact that we doubled up Oklahoma in yardage. Now, part of that is because they did have a long pick six, so that takes away a possession for them essentially. But if they don't have the pick six, they don't win. I mean, our defense was stuffing the offense for the most part. They had one touchdown and 3 field goals, and they got at least. I think they got the touchdown after the fumbled punt. And then I think they got another field goal after a turnover, if I remember right. So, I mean, are you telling me they got 17 of their points off turnovers?
17 off turnovers.
Jeez.
17 off turnovers. And in addition to the 17 off turnovers, they scored on a short field after a big punt return.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was their offensive drive of the game, was their big punt return, and then they moved the ball very little on offense after that point. So it came down to about 5 enormous mistakes Alabama made: the 3 turnovers, the missed field goal, giving up the big punt return. If you take any one of those things away, Alabama won the football game. So it's extremely frustrating that you play well enough to win offensively and defensively, but the errors committed by the offense and special teams handed Oklahoma the game, putting Alabama in a very dangerous position insofar as making the playoff.
Well, number one, I think you stand by my position here that if Alabama beats Eastern Illinois and Auburn, they're in.
They should be in.
Oh, God. You're going to waffle?
I'm not waffling. I'm just saying that they should be in because it seems to me that in a year where the committee is being told in no uncertain terms to factor in strength of schedule, are you going to tell me that they're going to eliminate the team that's played the strongest schedule in the whole field when they're among the contenders? So, and in terms of, I think the thing to watch for Tuesday night when the rankings come out is Alabama ahead of Notre Dame and BYU? Or are you ahead of both? Are you still ahead of Oklahoma?
No, you won't be ahead of Oklahoma.
I doubt that's the case. But are you ahead of Notre Dame and BYU, particularly BYU? Alabama has played a tougher schedule than BYU by far, and has played a tougher schedule than Notre Dame to this point. Now, Alabama's going to take a strength of schedule hit this week coming up, but this week's strength of schedule rating should be really high. We'll go over that more in detail on the Monday show.
Weirdly, we were probably helped by Georgia just pounding Texas into the sand, because that certainly helps our win,
It did.
the look of our win. Now, it wouldn't hurt if Texas Tech were to lose again. Now, they've only got one regular season game left, and that's at West Virginia. But then they'll have the Big 12 title game. Or if as long as Texas Tech beats, I assume they'll play BYU. Is that how they're going to play in that? I don't know. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole just yet, though.
It would behoove Alabama at this point that there only be one Big 12 team, one ACC team, and be ranked ahead of Notre Dame or no Notre Dame, although that seems highly unlikely at this point.
No, Notre Dame is going to get in, I think. But, yeah, I think one ACC, one Big 12 certainly is a big deal. And now that you've brought it up, I've been adamant that with 2 losses, Alabama gets in. as long, 2 losses they get in. And I still believe that. I do. But I guess there is a scintilla of doubt because, Oklahoma has to be ahead of us. I mean,
Yeah.
I, as an Alabama fan, I'd be like, okay, that's not right. Oklahoma has to be ahead of us. Ole Miss and Georgia and Texas A&M have to be ahead of us.
Yeah.
So
So
we would be the 5th.
it would require 5 SEC teams for us to get in at this point, which is still possible again, but you need one ACC, one Big 12. That's going to be critical. If a second ACC or second Big 12 team is ahead of Alabama, that would be trouble.
And see, it's not even like there are probably some people going, well, you've been on this. But see, I was assuming this whole time we'd beat Oklahoma and lose to Auburn. That's what I was really thinking. That's what I've been thinking this whole time. So now if we lose to Auburn, it's a moot point. Doesn't matter. I mean, we're Texas.
The loss to Oklahoma is you gave up a spot to Oklahoma. You gave up a spot. That's why it was a kind of a worse outcome, you would say, than a loss to Auburn on its own would have been. But again, I'm going to participate in all the playoff talk this week and next week, of course, because it's interesting and fun. But the fact of the matter is, Alabama has to beat Auburn for any of this to matter. And after the mistake-filled performance last night, and after seeing Alabama's performances on the road over 2 years, I think there's every reason in the world to have a lot of anxiety about the Auburn game, and improving and playing better has to be the focus of the program, not staring at the playoff rankings.
Yeah, and you can drive yourself mad doing that. Just thinking of all the possibilities, and then we were doing this same thing Saturday morning, and the next thing you know, I mean, we lose, and so it changes everything we think about everything. But going back to the game again for a second, the yardage thing, it came on the ESPN crawler that it's the first time in 30 years that a game has been lost like that when somebody else doubles them up in yardage, essentially, and it was something bananas. It lets you know that perhaps this game is such an outlier. Maybe they take that into consideration. And the other thing I should say, and because I want to be transparent, I have a lot of Auburn friends who love to tell me, well, the defense is elite, the offense is the problem, and if we just did this, and if we just did this, and I sort of want to come, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, and I feel like that's what we're doing a little bit here, because those mistakes that we made, they're part of the game. Giving up a punt return, that's part of the game. I mean, that's part of it.
We richly earned the loss. We
earned the loss. That L is ours. We got to hold it.
We played better than the score indicates. In large part, but we earned that loss. It wasn't fluky. It wasn't the officials, though I have a couple of beefs there, but it wasn't the officials. Alabama earned that loss, and boy, that's 2 years in a row. Oklahoma may have helped knock you out of the playoffs.
That is, man, that makes it feel more like they're our daddy. We can say that we're Georgia's daddy and all that stuff, and that's great. And I don't even like to claim that so much, because I respect what Georgia is doing. You may not respect the fans that bark in your face and all that. I'm fine with that. But I do respect what Georgia is as a program. And now Georgia may not always give us that respect back, but they can do nothing but say, every time we play y'all seem to win. And that's the way it is with Oklahoma and us. I mean, I can say, I think Alabama's a better program than Oklahoma. I think Alabama has proven more than Oklahoma over the last X amount of years. But just about every time we play, y'all seem to win. Now, we beat them pretty good when they had Kyler Murray in the 2018 playoffs. But that doesn't make me feel any better, a game from 7 years ago. I mean, we could have, if we beat them last year or this year, we're in the playoffs. We're in it. Now we have to go beat Auburn at Jordan-Hare. And what's going to really make me mad is I'm going to talk myself into, hey, this is what that team needs to be challenged and blah, blah, blah. No, I don't ever want it to hinge on that.
Well, this team has already proven one time they bounce back after a loss. And I know it's Louisiana Monroe, I wouldn't be surprised to see Alabama play extremely well against Eastern Illinois. This was the situation after Florida State where, they beat the heck out of Louisiana Monroe and played arguably their best game of the whole year, even though it was against a low group of 5 team. I wouldn't be surprised to see Alabama play extremely well against Eastern Illinois because we've seen this is exactly what we've seen happen. Then the question is, can they continue it into Auburn just like they did after the Florida State loss? I'm going to predict an Alabama win, just simply like I said last night in the reaction show. Alabama's a better football team than Auburn. They've proven that in 2025. The better team usually wins the Alabama-Auburn game. That's what I'll be sticking with all the way up. But am I nervous? Of course I'm nervous. There's too much on the line. There's too much bad voodoo that's happened over there. Look what's happened the last 2 trips. It required miracle performances by Jalen Milroe and Bryce Young the last two trips there. Yeah, I'll be plenty nervous for the both of us.
I'm going to tell everybody about FanDuel. The NBA is back. That may be what most of y'all are interested in now. And there's no better place to get in on action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride that hot hand during the game, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at bigger payouts. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that push late in the season. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins, baby. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Jimmy,
the NBA.
Correctamundo. What? I really hate saying correctamundo. Is that actually like Spanish?
No, Fonzie used to say it on Happy Days.
Okay. I forgot why it got started.
Fonzie.
It's sort of like when you say the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor, and like now that is just a part of in my head that I have to go, wait, the Germans didn't do it. And I'm like, and another part of my head is like, yeah, it's a joke from Animal House, remember? And I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
So
I have these inner dialogues that are quite boring.
Our jokes are from Animal House, which I think is 1980 or 1979, and Happy Days, which is like 1977.
I think Animal House was before 80. Pretty sure. So, I'm going to look it up while you're ranting about something. All right, let's talk about Ty Simpson's sinking star and Daniel Hill's emerging star. In our comments last night, by the way, appreciate everybody watching the reaction show last night. Some of y'all hate watched, but we appreciate it. It has over 18,000 views, already, and a lot of Oklahoma fans. And some Oklahoma fans were saying, man, that number 4, he's a dude. And I want to look this up too while you're talking. I want to see where Daniel Hill sits in our rushing room now, because he's got to be catching Jam Miller. Jam Miller still, Jimmy, I'll tell you, I have no problem saying this. I did a prize pick thing last night, and on prize picks, Jam Miller was more or less than 25 yards. I think 25 and a half yards. And I took more because I was thinking, okay, he can get 26 yards. No, he can't.
Wow.
Or maybe, no, I take that back. Maybe it was 28 and a half and he got 27. I think that's what it was.
Well, it's a shame. I think I've said this a couple times this year, and it's a shame that Daniel Hill's 60 yards on 15 carries. That is only a 4.0 yard per average attempt. Looks like, hey, now we've got it back. Now we found a guy. That's how bad the running game's been, because, frankly, a pedestrian performance looks fantastic now in the Alabama run game. Now, I do agree with this notion. Said it last night, still believe it today. I think Alabama's a better football team when Daniel Hill's a running back as opposed to Jam. Daniel Hill's just been more effective. Love the hands. Loves what he brings to the table there in the pass game. Seems to be doing pretty well in the pass protection. We're a better team with Daniel Hill at running back. I'll believe that.
Yeah, I believe that too. Boy, I'm kind of blown away. Jam Miller has apparently 348 yards this year, and Daniel Hill only has 164. I'm wondering if these stats are updated. I don't know if these are updated.
I don't doubt it. I just know both figures will be meager. Again, they both average less than 4 yards a carry over the course of the whole season, it's really bad. I mean, I think this is more of an off-season topic because in season, Alabama's just not going to develop a run game. I'm curious if they can run the ball well against Eastern Illinois. I mean, that's how questionable it's all gotten. I think it's something that has to be attacked in the offseason. But this team just is what it is. And since you can't run the ball or you run it just for show, for you to beat somebody good, Ty has to have a great night. I mean, that's just mandatory. Ty's got to have a great night. He just didn't have a great night against Oklahoma. There were just too many bad throws, too many mistakes.
Animal House was 1978, by the way. Yeah, so it just, man, what a great era for films. You had Jaws and Animal House. Caddyshack was in there. Anyway, so yeah, I guess Daniel Hill he had 60 yards rushing last night. It felt like a lot more. I'm one of those that like it takes me a day or two to get over a loss like this, so I can't just go back and look at the stats. So I apologize for not knowing the stats right off the top of my head. But like as soon as we lost that game, I sort of lost interest in college football for the day. Like I had Texas and Georgia on kind of in the background. And obviously I watched some of the Florida Ole Miss thing because that got mildly interesting too. But I wasn't into it like I'm normally into it. Like this loss yesterday took the wind out of my sails. And so I hadn't really looked at the stats. I'm just going off memory. And I like to do it that way because it is more of a visceral reaction. And so in my mind, Daniel Hill had more than 60 yards because he broke off some runs that frankly, Jam Miller just didn't rank it off this year.
Well, one thing in Daniel Hill's defense, I'll say 4 yards a carry, a few of his carries, and he has kind of become our designated short yardage guy because of his size. A few of his carries were literally designed to make a yard or two. And he also scored 2 touchdowns down near the goal line, which affects your yards per carry because once you hit the goal line, you stop accumulating yards at that point. So because of the nature of some of his short yardage carries, that's going to affect your yard per carry number because it's like, hey, it's 3rd and 1 and you make the 1. Hey, give the running back a positive. Hey, he did something really good there, though he just detonated his average a little bit, right? Even though you put in the check box that, hey, that was a good rep from Daniel Hill there. Well, it didn't help the yard per carry number. So I think that's a bit of a factor in terms of that overall 60 yards on 15 carries. He has emerged as Alabama's best back down the stretch, no doubt. It'll be interesting to see if he gets the start versus Eastern Illinois.
I was muted. He has more touchdowns now than Jam Miller. I know that. Jimmy, you muted yourself.
Have we ever done dueling mutes on the show? Is that the first time?
Like I was muted and you did like this to tell me to unmute. So I did. And I think when you did that, you hit your mute button and I was trying to unmute you. I was like, oh God. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Mute. Just where the hate listeners love to find us, dueling mutes.
That if there really ever was a dueling mute, who would know? You couldn't tell.
Yeah, that's a tree falling in the woods metaphor there.
By the way, somebody did have a great tweet yesterday. When Dowd had a punt and they said something on the broadcast, like he transferred in from the Colorado School of Mines, somebody tweeted and said, dang it, I really did think he came from the School of Mimes. Thanks, Locked On Bama. It is kind of funny. All right. Well, look, we're going to talk about Ty Simpson's his Heisman hopes are done. And so forget that. I mean, that's out the window. I don't even think he should win. I don't care what he does these next 2 games. So we'll talk about how Ty and what he's going to have to do to get things turned around. But now I want to tell you about Game Time. Love Game Time. College football is back. It's almost over now. And I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, and prices jumping up at checkout. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. That's the best part. So I take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege, $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. Please don't mute yourself. Now what do I do? Okay, here we go. This Oklahoma game's got us all off kilter.
I've had a 48-hour allergy attack that I'm sure everybody can tell. But
Ty Simpson is.
Maybe I'm allergic to the bad performances. You know, Ty's not. I've watched obviously every snap of his season. He's been great. I mean, he's been great. I mean, who would have thought he would be this good this quickly with so few starts? But he's not the most outstanding player in college football.
He's not the most outstanding player on offense at this point of our offense. Now, here's the thing. Ty Simpson has got to be one of the more weird cases because his stats are good, but it's like where his mistakes happen seem to be crucial. The Oklahoma case in point. Where his fumbles happened, where his interception happened. Shoot, he should have had another interception. Yes, it was pass interference, or at the very least holding on. I think it was on Isaiah Horton that they, that the guy was committed the foul on. But he should have had another interception right as we were about to score. Thankfully, he didn't, and it was the right call. I'm just saying he got bailed out right there. And these last two weekends against LSU and against Oklahoma, Brian Williams is the healthiest he's been in a while, apparently. And we have 2 total passing touchdowns against those 2 teams. That's weird.
Yeah, Ty only having 2 interceptions on the season after 10 games is remarkable. And let's not, minimize that in any way. Despite the performance last night, his season-long performance has been pretty remarkable, but it might surprise people to learn, the sack fumbles have been a big problem. And it's not all Ty. Some of it's the offensive line. But for instance, I think it surprised some people to learn that, Jalen Milroe, despite all his carries last year and all his mistakes, Ty Simpson has lost more fumbles in 2025 than Jalen Milroe did in 2024. I mean, and I think that would just surprise people because people, I think, I thought Milroe's number was bigger than it was. But Ty's now lost 5 fumbles, and I think 5 in 5 games. I think it's just over the course of 5 games. So there are too many errors. And no, I don't think Ty Simpson should or will win the Heisman Trophy right now. I think it's Mendoza or Julian Sayin.
And I think it has to be Mendoza, honestly, even though I don't want to give them a lot of credit for playing a bunch of nobodies. Julian Sayin is just picking and choosing whoever he wants to have a touchdown because Ohio State's schedule has also been abysmal. So
I agree. I would give Mendoza it today based on the Oregon win and the 2-minute drive to beat Penn State.
Yeah, Sayin's not going to have a moment like that because he doesn't play a team that's going to force him to do something like that, unless it's Indiana. Now, if Sayin goes off against Indiana in the Big Ten championship game,
Sayin's going to have a nice opportunity Big Ten championship game if he's matched up against Mendoza. If they're like 1 and 2 in all the Heisman straw polls, then maybe that game sort of settles it.
Okay, so I'm like, I wake up this morning and I think to myself, let's go ahead and shake this loss off best you can. Now let's go to the projected CFP lineup. Okay, here we go. Ohio State 1, Indiana 2, Texas A&M 3, just like I thought. Georgia 4, okay. Texas Tech 5, I can buy that. Ole Miss 6, fine. Oregon 7, yeah, I get that. Oklahoma 8, oh, I can't wait to see where Alabama is. Oh, Alabama's 9. Guess what they would do? Open up at Oklahoma. So, no, I'm not happy anymore. Well, so what we need
in that projection, though, I'm happy because a key to me is staying ahead of Notre Dame and BYU.
Okay. I don't want to play Oklahoma again. I mean, I right now, until I feel better about where we are as a program, I don't want to play them again. Notre Dame would be 10 in this projection. BYU is 11, and Utah is 12. Now, this is where things get dicey, because what if, Jimmy, and we're not going to go down this rabbit hole all the way this morning, but what if USC beats Oregon next week? Then you got USC and Oregon both at, I think they both end up at 10-2 essentially when they each beat whoever they're supposed to beat the last game of the year. Yeah, that takes away a spot.
It would.
I think both of them would get in.
It would. Both of them would get in. No, I don't. I think Oregon at that point could be out. Oregon at that point could be out entirely based on lack of good wins, strength of schedule. It would knock Oregon. All I would care is it would knock Oregon behind Alabama, which is my main concern. But no, I don't think both would be in. I'm not sure about that. Some of it, again, gets back to, are there two Big 12 teams? Are there two ACC teams? But, yeah, it's getting a little crowded with the 10-2 crowd.
Oh, Jimmy. Well, this loss is going to weigh on me for just a minute. So go ahead and give me another rant. I got some stuff going on in the back.
Well, it's they say there's a 24-hour rule when it comes to celebrating wins. It's going to be well over 24 hours before I'm over the loss. It was just such a bad performance at the worst time possible. Just too many errors. Overall, you hate to just say, well, the offense is just ridiculously terrible. They racked up 400 yards against probably the best defense on all of college football. So you can't throw out the baby with the bathwater and say, oh, well, the offense as a whole is just dreadful. No, the offense was fine. There's just far too many dreadful errors and negative plays mixed in. That was the problem. Give Oklahoma some level of credit. Again, that's the best defense in the SEC. We said it all week on the show. This was the best defense Alabama would play this season. I think they may be the best defense in college football. And so you have to give them some credit for the performance, of course. But just a mistake-filled performance. Special teams at Alabama, it was also bad. You give up the punt return. You fumble your own punt. You miss a kick, which was partly the fault of the long snapper who they replaced, and partly the fault of Connor Talty, who doesn't do a good enough job of adjusting on the bad snap kicks. In the NFL, when there's a bad snap, but the holder gets it down, they still expect the kicker to make the kick. Now, I don't think it's fair for us to hold Talty to that standard to say, hey, this isn't a problem for the Lions or the Vikings, the Packers, the Bears. It's not a problem for them. Why is it a problem for you? Well, he's not an NFL kicker. He's a college kicker in his first year of being a starting kicker. So I don't know that that's fair to say, hey, Talty just does a poor job of adjusting on the bad snap plays. They did replace the snapper, and let's see if that sticks going forward. That's something to watch versus Eastern Illinois. A guy named Alex Rozier became the long snapper when they benched David Byrd.
All right, the rest of my family's waking up, so it sounds like I'm not going to get much quiet background here. So we're going to call it a day. It's right at 30 minutes anyway. So we will be back tomorrow, and we'll be still depressed, I'm sure. But until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.